The United States military killed children, specifically girls at school. We have the update. Here it is.
This morning, growing questions following the strike on a girls' elementary school in southern Iran that Iran's Red Crescent says left more than 160 dead, most of them children. Sources now telling ABC that it is possible the U.S. hit the school by mistake. Experts telling us more than 10 years ago, the school was part of a larger Iranian Revolutionary Guard military complex. But a new analysis by ABC News suggests the Iranian girls' school had been separated from the military compound long ago. Google Earth images from 2013 and 2016 show a wall being built sometime during those years, effectively separating the school from a cluster of IRGC buildings. An image from 2018 shows that part of the walls in the school compound had been painted bright blue, a new addition not visible in the previous years. Following the strike, you can see the building covered with painted murals and pictures children had drawn. Retired Master Sergeant Wes Bryan, who once led the Pentagon office that assessed incidents of civilian casualties, raising questions about whether the U.S. was working from outdated intelligence.
The commander of the Central Command should know every single target that both the U.S. and Israel were going to hit and did hit, and what the assessed what we call battle damage assessment was after those targets.
Put it up full mass, the destruction. It's important to note that a US-made Tomahawk missile was used, which Iran and Israel do not possess. We also know that they conducted a double tap strike. This means that rescue workers, including civilians and parents of the children, were targeted in a second strike afterward to wipe out any survivors. So the spin of them making a mistake once is untrue if you believe they made a mistake. This means if you believe their narrative, they made the same mistake twice. Killing or dropping the bomb, creating the carnage and killing, and then making sure that those who were responding to save who could be saved, little girls at school, that they kill them too. Trevor Ball. A Bellingcat researcher identified the munition as a Tomahawk cruise missile, which only the U.S. is known to possess in this war. It's the first evidence of a munition used in the strike. U.S. Central Command has acknowledged using Tomahawk missiles in this war and even released a photo of the USS Spews, part of the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier group located within range of the school, firing a Tomahawk missile on the 28th of February. When is somebody going to apologize? Typically, when you make a mistake, even if the mistake is, creates the death of children, somebody takes responsibility, accountability. They talk as if they have a human connection somewhere, compassion maybe, a heart, some level of remorse, if it's a mistake. So this war just started, and the target becomes a school that clearly is identified as a school. And while they may cite outdated intelligence, you mean to tell me that Google Maps, Google Earth, has better intelligence than the US military? Now, if that's the case, it's actually worse than I thought. There's more. All right, so the US has not claimed responsibility for the strikes, but the Trump administration's preliminary findings show it is increasingly likely that, the US did it. That's according to a US official and a person familiar with the investigation. The US is still looking into whether the strikes were the result bad intelligence or poor targeting, the sources said an American military investigation is ongoing. Smoke and mirrors. They want you to stop paying attention to it. For them to investigate themselves, as far as a document or documents in the briefing may be concerned, for them to investigate themselves, it takes weeks, months, years. They provided the intelligence. They know good and damn well all of the information they need to know now. But they're not going to level with you, at least not now. There's more. Trump outright lied. Trump outright lied when he was questioned about the bombing. So let's go to it. The evidence directly contradicts statements by the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, on Sunday, that Iran was responsible for the school bombing. Quote, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran. End quote, Trump said, without offering any evidence for this claim. Quote, they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran, end quote. Now I'm going to show you a video of how Hegseth tap danced around the question, which gives you the answer. Here it is.
Have you made any conclusions about whether or not the United States, inadvertently or not, was involved in any military strike at that school?
Well, we're still investigating, and that's where I'll leave it today. But what I will emphasize to you and to the world is that unlike our adversaries, the Iranians, we never target civilians.
Jordan, put the picture back up of the carnage this bomb created, or the bombings created. I want you to keep that up. Hegseth said it's under investigation. Trump said Iran did it. He says it's under investigation, but they do not target civilians like Iran does. I have to say this, Palestinians are civilians. We were complicit in the support of Israel committing a genocide. In Iran, the facility is actually mapped off with a bright color paint in order to signify the difference between the installations. So you bomb the school, but you miss the soldiers. And you come out with the spin narrative that won't even tell the truth. The first man to talk about it, the president of the United States, says it's Iran, as if he's not president of the United States, but like someone at a barbershop that has no information but rumors. And the media accepts it. Hegseth goes to a real interview, says it's under investigation. So you don't know where the bombs are going? All right, it's a damn shame. And they're so corrupt, and they're so dishonest, and they're so rotten to the core, some of them, that you can't put it past them. If they will protect those who sexually violate children, they would damn sure be okay with sending a bomb to one. All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, they don't care about children. We should know that by now if we don't know this about this administration. Look, even if the double tap on a school was a mistake, either we're wildly incompetent or we're just lying to people. And by we, of course, I mean our government and I guess by extension, our military, even though I don't want to lump all the people who are in the military currently in with what the administration is making them do. That's a whole other issue, really. But for the people who support what this administration is doing, the people who see that we're bombing a school twice and don't have any kind of remorse about any of that, who do they think we are? Like there's this idea that the United States is this big macho masculine country, and the way that we assert ourselves is we just bully ourselves, or we bully everybody around the world. That to me does not feel like leadership. What we're seeing from this administration also does not seem like leadership to me. It seems like a bunch of bumbling dudes who don't know what they're doing, or they do know what they're doing and they're just not telling us. And that in and of itself is a huge problem. We are killing children in Iran, right? He's saying that we need to take out their weapons of mass destruction. We need to target their nuclear arsenals. And apparently we've done that. They also said that this was about regime change and we need to get the Ayatollah out of power. We've done that. So why is school? Why the desalination plants? Like, why are we still doing all these things? Why are we still bombing them? If, according to them, we've already done a lot of what we set out to do in the first place. But now we know that it was us, not the Israelis, not anybody else, who bombed the school twice. What does it change? Like, who does it change anything for? Americans should know by now who we are, because this is who we have always been. And unless you're in such deep denial that you just look at this news report and just say, no, that's not it, or I guess they know what they're doing, I guess it's fine, I'm okay with that. That is a problem, right? And I think what's happening with this, for me personally, this is so frustrating because, Doc, we've been here before, right? We've lived through all of this already in one lifetime, right? I'm 30, how old am I? 37 years old. I've been through this already. I was a child when it happened the first time, but I remember all of it, right? We're already seeing everything play out the exact same way it did the first time. And it's like people have no memory of what happened just 20, 25 years ago. And what we're getting involved in with Iran is so much bigger than what happened in Afghanistan and in Iraq and with even Saudi Arabia back then. What we're doing now is we're involving much bigger players. There's China is going to get involved, Russia is going to get involved, the United Nations are going to get involved. This is a big deal. The Middle Eastern countries are already involved. They're already getting bombed. And we know what happened whenever the United States was getting very involved in the Middle East back in the 90s. We know what happened in 2001, and that is not something that we can assume is not going to happen again. At the time in 2001, for those of you who don't remember, maybe you were too young, the American people really had genuinely no idea why anyone would attack us here in our soil, in our country. 9/11 caught all of us off guard because nobody knew what was going on in the Middle East. Today is much different. Today we know everything that's going on in the Middle East. We know so much about geopolitics. We're just so much more educated now than we were back in the 90s going into the 2000s. So we're hearing all these people from the administration. They are so on message that, they're going out there saying the same things, right? Literally the same things. They're telling us this is going to be short-term pain for long-term gain. We've heard that already in terms of when they were talking about the tariffs and whatever other trade policy Trump was doing and with the economy, but now we're hearing it pertaining to what we're doing in Iran. And it's almost as if it's such propagandistic rhetoric that the Republicans, they're told what to say. So it's not really like they're individual experts or analysts who are speaking at this point. It's just like a fleet of parrots that have been deployed around the various media outlets to run the media circuit. So it's pointless. And then whenever we do hear something from the administration itself, whether it's from the president, from Marco Rubio, from Pete Hegseth, they often contradict each other. So they're lying to the American people, or they're not telling us everything. It's incredibly disrespectful. It's not constitutional. And they're talking now about sending our American troops over to Iran. Maybe people will die. He doesn't seem to care. Trump doesn't seem to care. He couldn't be bothered. But that's what we're working with here. But I think this revelation that we were the ones who bombed the school really doesn't change a whole lot for me, but for some people it should.
Yeah, and it's an illegal war without the powers of Congress, which constitutionally is mandated. It's an illegal war, and the partner with Trump is a guy who's wanted for war crimes. And that is the current state of America. And I want to remind everyone that your light, your truth, your wisdom, your compassion is needed more now than ever before. So don't become disillusioned with the villain. the villain is required for you to know that you're the hero. And this is how it works.